Hello everyone, I am Lakshmipriya Nair and I welcome each one of you to our series on Indian stents Get Updated. The World Economic Forum has listed non-communicable diseases as one of the largest threats to mankind. In India too, cardiovascular diseases are one of the biggest causes to premature deaths. So how do we stop the advance of CVDs? To give us more insights, we have Dr. Joy Sanyal, Senior Consultant, Cardiology, Health World Hospitals, West Bengal. Hello, Dr. Sanyal. Thanks a lot for joining us on this platform.
Pleasure is mine.
To start off with, Dr. Sanyal, how has interventional cardiology transformed over the years?
There has been a sea change as far as interventional cardiology is concerned in our country. If I were to go back since my practicing days, 15 years, over the last 15 years, that's what I can put into. We've had newer hardwares coming in and the technology has improved. If I were to concentrate on the most important development probably has been with the stents, with the balloons, and also newer devices in the form of structural heart disease coming in. And now if we have to go into the stent, which is why I say it, because it is the majority of the procedures that you are following it in the country, since coronary artery disease is the most prevalent disease in cardiology. So when we started off, say in 2003 or 2002, we had limited choices to make, and the devices were more bulkier in that the deploying characteristics were different. And now as we evolve into 2020, over the last decade, the deployability of the stents have become better. The balloons on which they are mounted are more user-friendly now. If I were to come to structural heart diseases, now we have Indian made valves coming in, and the whole scenario is changing, and changing for the better, which means it has made the life of an interventional cardiologist much easier than it was 15 years ago.
So you're talking about how stent technology has improved the outcomes of interventional cardiology. Can you talk a little bit more on that?
In older days, we primarily had two classes of stents, the bare metal stents and the drug-eluting stents. These days, we have 99% drug-eluting stents or drug-coated stents. So in that era, the stent design was, because it was just evolving, it was more bulky. That means the matrix or the design was such that you would have to deploy stents at very, very high pressures. You would have to re-inflate them again with post-dilating balloons to get your conformational shapes. Not that we don't do that now. These days, as the technology has evolved, the bare metal stents have slowly gone out. This is primarily because the repeat rates of re-intervention that came up with bare metal stent, which the technology went out slowly, and the drug-coated stents took their position. And the rates of re-intervention in the drug-coated stents for the last 15 years has come down from double digits in the 30-40% group, went down to 20% group, and then it came down to 10, and now it is below 5%. So these days it's like, deploy and forget. We don't even usually routinely maybe we should be checking the angiograms again at 6 months or 1 year, but again that's a socio-economic thing, because the patient has to come up for an angiogram. So but these days the results are much better. In that, patient is hardly again repeatedly symptomatic if you have done a procedure as per the copybook text has stated. And I think the results are good, primarily because the anatomy of the stent or the matrix of the stent has changed. You are having, each component has changed. The struts have become more thinner, and they are getting thinner by the day. So we had 6, now we are having almost up to 50 microns also. So less than that at levels also they are being investigated. You are having the linking pattern of the stent has changed. Earlier there were different types of links means the stent is basically a cell design, like it's like the honey, the beehive, the cells. So the cells have to be linked. So once the linking pattern has also become different, that allows the stent to expand more, which gives you more force, and you can deploy it in very tortuous or very distorted anatomies. It has become more fluidic in design, that you can negotiate tortuous bends, and this is all happening because the raw materials are changing with which the stents are being manufactured. Then the polymer, earlier we used to have non-degradable polymers. So the polymer is a foreign particle which is incorporated into the stent, and after that the drug is coated on that. So if you have a polymer which is very reactive, then once you put the stent inside the patient's vessel, it reacts, and it can induce a reaction which will stimulate a repeat blockage. Okay. So now we are having something called degradable polymers, naturally biodegradable. In fact, a few years ago we had bioabsorbable stents, but I think that technology needs more evolution, so it's out of vogue now. We are satisfied with biodegradable polymers. So the polymers degrade over time and leave no traces. So basically it's absolutely non-allergenic. So the cases of stent-induced allergic reactions, sometimes they were quite bad. In fact, it's hardly seen nowadays.
Okay. So you're saying that technology has actually made stents more sustainable, more patient-friendly,
Definitely.
and better for the healthcare providers as well.
Yes, now we have patients coming in telling us that we want to have, why don't you do a stent? Don't make me go for surgery. Earlier the case was, send me for the surgery because the stent probably won't last. Nowadays the people are also convinced, and that is because they are seeing the results. They are seeing their relatives may have got operated and they are doing well, and so if, again some near and dear ones, they don't hesitate to recommend go in for a stent, which earlier was slightly hesitant.
Right. So have clinical trials, randomized clinical trials like the TALENT one helped bring in these changes? Have they had a role in it?
Yes, as clinicians definitely, because unless you do a randomized trial, you are not right in recommending the particular therapy for that particular patient group or whatever. So the basis of cardiology stands on randomized trials, be it whether they are done outside or they are done in India. And to see that an Indian stent is non-inferior to the stent which has been the hallmark of all over the world, and any cardiologist any day would prefer using stent which is manufactured outside, and an Indian stent taking the competition head on and coming out non-inferior, and so that helps. It's a moral booster, not only for the cardiologist and also for the cardiologist to convince a patient that earlier what used to happen, anybody listening, okay, supposing this is a Indian made stent, then probably it is not good. So unless you go through a randomized trial, and if you have data to support you, you cannot justify your implanting the said device in the patient. So because at the end of the day, the patient is the one who is paying for it and whatever, and he is supposed to get a good product. So these days, if I were to use the said product which was used in TALENT trial, I would probably not have any hesitation in telling the patient that, look, here you have been given the same material that's as good as the best that is available. So I think yes, definitely randomized controlled trials do help in making guidelines with which we work. And unless you have randomized trials, you probably will not be justified in implanting a device. Smaller trials, yes. Pilot control studies, yes. They give us an eye opener that yes, probably now we should enroll more patients, randomize them in a better way, and give the outcomes. So because the more patients you have, the more the variability increases. So in statistics, that.
So doctors, have you been able to create an impression in the patients' minds that Indian stents are just as comparable as their Western counterparts?
Yes, I think over the last 6 to 7 years, maybe a decade, I think we have been able to do that, and to a greater extent, yes. And as I told, these days the patient really, some of them will have biases, that's understandable, but majorities don't ask. Majority are convinced, and that is because the doctor is convinced. One has to be convinced. I myself have to be convinced before I go on to deliver a therapy to a person, because if I am not convinced, I will not deliver because I am not sure of that. So once I am sure of that, I think that's how it is, because I am sure that the product I am using is good enough, and it is not only good, it is non-inferior, and it has almost the same results at par with the global data. I don't think we need to fear.
Thanks a lot for sharing your
Thank
insights
you.
with us, Doctor.
Thank you.